You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles. Here's Martin Weiss.
2 Monday night games last night. The Cincinnati Bengals now 0-3 after they lose to the Commanders 38-33. Joe Burrow had 3 touchdown passes in the loss, but Jaden Daniels had the best game we've seen of a rookie quarterback so far this season with 3 total touchdowns, 21 for 23 passing. He's 91.4 completion percentage is the highest for a rookie with a minimum of 20 attempts. It was the first game in over 60 years without a punt or a turnover. The Bills led the Jaguars 34-3 at the half, ended the game 47-10. Josh Allen had 4 touchdown passes. He added 6 carries, 44 yards. Damar Hamlin got his first career interception. Jacksonville has lost its last 8 straight starts for Trevor Lawrence. He finished 21-38 with 178 yards and a touchdown and the aforementioned interception. And the Phillies clinched the NL East title after they beat the Cubs 6-2. Houston lost to Seattle 6-1. I'm Martin White.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and our running back coach didn't take it. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into this Tuesday edition of the Martin Houston Show. I'm Xavier Houston. We have Martin, of course, and we have Chase pressing all the right buttons. We will continue the conversation of good, bad, and ugly SEC edition. Is Bama ready for Georgia? We also have DC, a DC Cast on Report, joining us today, and we're talking about some grades on the college football season for Bama. How you doing this morning?
Good. Doing great this morning, X. Thanks for having me in.
Good. Good to have you, DC. Good to have you, DC. And hey, as X said, this is the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling, which means that you can get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline. We speak, we train, we coach. We love the opportunity to speak, train, and coach for you. Go to empowermentstrategy.com. That's empowerment with the M, empowermentstrategy.com. And it'll show you all the various divisions of the company, empowering leadership, advancing financial literacy, and driving growth with an emphasis in banking and real estate. Thank you for being a part of the program. And hey, listen, if you're on the live stream, you can always get in on the conversation by posting your thoughts, your comments, and your questions over in the live stream chat, and we'll work it into the conversation. And if we don't, we'll do like we did yesterday. We'll have a little OT on the Martin Houston Show. So remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Well, it's dog week. It's dog week all week long. And that means that we're going to get DC's thoughts on the good, bad, and ugly SEC edition since Alabama didn't play. Is Bama ready, as X said? Great college football. DC and I actually had this conversation offline. Is college football better or worse? Either way, I think we're seeing better games, but we'll have that conversation. I'll toss it back to you, Ash.
All right. DC, welcome to the show. As we said, we're going to start off with some good, bad, and ugly around the SEC since Bama was off this week. So what was your good from the SEC this week? Mine yesterday was how Auburn fans set up their second quarterback in 4 weeks for failure with the overhyping of a game against a bottom tier opponent.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that I would pick as well. But I think one of the good things of the week is that the weekend, and it's something Martin I was talking about. Are the games bad, or are the teams bad, or are the games just better? I think that's something we're going to flesh out over the year. We got better games, but the teams themselves, are they bad? Is that a good thing, or is it a bad thing? That's one thing I've been thinking about.
Yeah, and for me, X, and DC, I hit it yesterday, and so I won't dig into it. I do think we're getting more competitive games if you kind of look at the SEC and around the nation. So, but like you said, DC, is that because the bottom has come up or the top is coming down? So, standard rising or lowering? So, I have an opinion.
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. Yeah. When you look at the fact of the transfer portal is taking depth away from the top teams, and that's elevating some of the lower schools. So it's more parity as we look at the teams, because you're having a guy that instead of waiting until he's a junior to be the guy at an Alabama, a Georgia, a USC, Ohio State, he might redshirt and then he's going to a group of 5 school and he's playing, but he's got the talent level of being at a Power 5.
Yeah, I think you're right, X.
I think that's what it is.
I think you're right, X, but I still think that begs the question that I ask is this a good thing or a bad thing? And what I mean by that isn't this what Coach Saban predicted? And he said that all this was going on, we're going to go to more parity. And is that what you really want? And so the question, I think, is that what we really want? And is that why we have these questions about what we're seeing? Are we seeing good football, bad football? And maybe that's the question. Is this what we really want?
Yeah, in DC, as an Alabama fan, I don't want parity. I want us to keep dominating. But if I'm all the other way, I think it's really all based on perspective there. If you're the other schools, you're like, oh, okay, we now have a fighting chance. 12-team playoffs. They're not getting a stockpile talent, blah, blah, blah. So the coaches who figure this thing out, how to keep talent, while working the portal a little bit, I think has the formula. And so now that we're 3 to 4 games in, is Dabo's approach as bad as it looked week 1? Because here's something that I did hear, talking about this. I know we're kind of off topic a little bit, but that's okay. DC, they said that Dabo actually offered 5 guys. I think he said he offered 4 or 5 guys out of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them accepted. And they said his approach is they evaluate their roster and they go, okay, is there anybody, first of all, they grade the guys they have. Can this guy play? If they say yes, they go to the portal and say, is there anybody at his position better than this guy that will fit our culture, who wants to come in and play football, not just for the money? If they think, hey, this guy's not quite ready, they go to the portal and they offer. Now, what would you say? Would you say that the media may have hurt Dabo as much if he offered 5 guys and got none, and he said he does that every year, but he's never got guys to come? Is it him, or is it the fact that the media has kind of sold everybody that Dabo doesn't take transfers, So why would a guy come play there?
Yeah, I think the media definitely played a part in it. I think definitely.
I'm sorry. One more thing before you respond. Dabo tells them, he said that every guy, this is the reporter announcement, every guy that they went after, everybody that they talked to in the portal, one of their first questions, couple questions was how much money and wanted a guarantee to play, and he refused to give anybody a guarantee. Now answer the question.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the media plays a part in it, but I think that the way he handles the portal is probably another part in not giving anybody a guarantee. I don't have a problem with him doing that, but I think that's what young people want to see. That when they're shopping around for something better, you want to make sure that if you're not starting where you are, you want to make sure you can start where you're going to move to. And I think that's what everybody's looking for is a guarantee. And that's the part of the transfer portal that I don't like. I mean, I think it's good if you use it the right way, and I think Alabama under Coach Saban was using it correctly. We had people come in that could compete, but we had some people come in that didn't get to play, didn't get to start. I remember a couple of wide receivers that didn't get to start because they couldn't beat the personnel. So I think that's right. When you sell a person on coming to you for money or for start playing time, I think that destroys the culture that you built on your team. But I think that's what we're seeing around on some of the places that we're talking about.
And real quick, Saban got out before it got out that he says the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
I mean, literally, I don't.
Did you hear what he said on game day? He was talking about the way that.
Go ahead. Yes, share it.
Yeah. He was talking about the portal, and he was really talking about Florida State.
Yep.
And how they're going to the portal. And he said, you have to remember, these guys are in the portal for a reason because they weren't playing where they were at. And there's a reason for that. And how Florida State has just gone portal heavy. And I mean, he called out the guys that left Alabama. If you really look into it, say, hey, these guys weren't playing at Alabama for a reason. And you think because they were at Alabama that they were going to be superstars when they got to your program.
Yeah. So there we go. DC, any closing thoughts before I get to break here?
No, I was just thinking that's exactly what we were talking about. Yeah, are the games better or is everybody in parity? Like you said, I'm an Alabama fan. Alabama guy. I don't want parity. I'm okay with us and Georgia and Ohio State and Clemson, fight it out every year. I'm okay with just four of us.
I'm okay if it's just Alabama. I mean, I don't care if the other ones are good. I mean, anyway.
I agree.
If you're wondering, real quick, Curtis Moore said, exception Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs isn't the only one that's left here that was playing. Drew Sanders was going to be a beast here at Alabama if he hadn't left. So there are exceptions to the rules, but I think Saban was talking about if you look at 10 guys in the portal, Curtis, 9 of them are guys who were not playing or had gotten in trouble or had an issue. And remember, Alabama got to a point this season that the young man that went to Texas after being the Auburn hero in the Iron Bowl asked for money, got money, went to the semifinals, left the semifinal game and was reportedly asking for more money to stay and play. And then when got here, he wanted more money when the coaching change happened. So Dabo just nips it in the bud up front. I think Saban realized I don't want to go down this path either. And I think that was part of his decisioning. Not all of it, but part of it. We'll be back on the other side. We want to thank Box Eye Care for taking care of us each and every day. Box Eye Care, boxeyecare.com. Tell you more about them later on in the program. That's Box Eye Care, 205-342-0660.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Tuesday morning to you. What we're looking at right now is a slow up on Lurleen Wallace. Got that on the northbound lane to 20th Street. It looks like we're dealing with a fender bender or perhaps a stalled vehicle, but it is causing delays back to 17th Street. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of...
It's the Tide Tailgate Show on 95.3 The Bear and Tide 100.9 WTBC 1230. Roll Tide.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. A few spots could see a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon or this evening. The high today 91, the low tonight 68. Tomorrow cloudy with occasional rain, the high 80. Thursday breezy, rain much of the day, the high 74. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. I want to thank the good folks at Taco Casa, my longest running sponsor. Go check them out for lunch and dinner. And hey, listen, if you're looking for a great place to hang out, you need to check out the venue of Tuscaloosa, your new favorite Tuscaloosa hangout. That's the venue located over off of Watermelon Road, just past Sokol Park. Man, if you're looking for a place that can give you options, I tell everybody it's a great Sunday hangout, because when the wife says, hey, where you want to go? And you ask the wife, where you want to go? And she says, I don't know. I don't care. Well, they really do. So pick a place that gives you some options for you, the wife, and the kids. That's the venue, Tuscaloosa. They have Finney's Pub where you can eat inside or out. Great food and menu options there. They also have Liza's Sweet Shop with subs and pizzas as well, so you can get the kids something there. And then, of course, they have the all-day breakfast in the second location of Ramajama's. That's the venue at Tuscaloosa. To find out more details, go to venuetuscaloosa.com. All right, X, I'll toss it back to you. Well, really quick, hey, don't forget, get in on the score prediction contest. The score prediction contest for Georgia and Alabama tiebreaker is Georgia's total yards.
All right, as we get back into the conversation, continuing the good, bad, and the ugly, Bam Bam 72 had the good Auburn loss, the bad Auburn's QB play, the ugly Freeze post-game interview and throwing players under the bus. That was bad. DC, did you get to hear Hugh Freeze take zero accountability and put it all on his players after the game Saturday?
Oh, yeah, I did. And then I got to hear him yesterday double down and say again that, with all due respect to Arkansas, they could play them 9 more times and beat them 9 more times. That's how sad it was to lose that ball game. So I don't think
he said what? I missed it. You said what? He said if they play Arkansas.
Oh yeah, on his show yesterday, he said all due respect to I think it was his call-in show. All due respect to Sam Pittman, he's done a great job there. But if we play Arkansas 9 more times, we beat them 9 out of 9 times. That's how sad of a loss this was for us.
So he's delusional.
Oh, wow. I promise he said that. So.
He's delusional.
Exactly.
Let's get Chase. Chase doesn't ever say much, but Chase, what did you say?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I usually don't budge because I love listening to you guys. But I had to jump in. It's funny. I was talking to my girlfriend about this last night because she's into sports, and she said, "Did you listen to Hugh Freeze yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah, like recent." She's like, "No, you need to see this now." I looked into it. I couldn't believe what I was listening. I don't know why he's doing this at the time that it's going on for Auburn. I just don't get it. I'm just glad he's not with Alabama because, oh my God.
Oh my goodness. DC, if you're 2-2 with the schedule they got coming up, the worst thing you want to make it sound like is that you're a really good team. You've already thrown your players under the bus. What if I was in that situation, I'd throw my team under the bus, my running back, who's the best player on his team, and the quarterback, the most important player just about on any team, I would have came back and said, listen, yes, there was a very, very disappointing team. And I believe that if we were able to correct our mistakes, we could compete against them. And moving forward, if we correct our mistakes, we're going to be competitive, and get some key wins throughout this season. But this is only my second year here, and I don't have all my people in place. We had a great recruiting class last year. We had a great recruiting class this year, if we can hold on to it. So let's all rally around. Let's become family Auburn. Let's do this. The worst thing you could do when you're looking at a 2-2 record at home with 2 losses to teams that you were predicted to beat, with Oklahoma, Georgia, then at Missouri, and at Kentucky, you literally could not be looking at a win till you get to Vanderbilt. And based on where the ship is at that time, you may not even beat Vanderbilt.
Hey, Vanderbilt almost beat Missouri this weekend, so Vanderbilt ain't playing.
Right. I know, that's what I'm saying. Of course they lost to Georgia State the week before. That's what made me ask the question at the beginning, DC.
I know. Well, look, I'm hearing some things out there with some talking heads saying, well, it's okay for him to call out his players. It's okay to hold him accountable. It's okay because they're getting paid. They're getting this. You know, I guess we're just in a different. I come from a different era, I guess, Martin. I know you played in a different era, but you know, when Bear Bryant's teams performed poorly, he took all the blame. He never called somebody out, not in public. He called them out in practice. You better believe he did, but he didn't call them out in public. And then when those teams won, he never took the credit. He gave all the credit to everybody on the team except himself. And so that's where you come from. It's not that you don't call out your players; it's that you don't call out your players in public. That's the point I'm trying to make of these people. Don't say it's okay to do something that we've all these years it's been done, but it's been done in a way that helps the team and helps the players. When you do what he does in public, he's not helping the team or helping the players. He's hurting the team and hurting the players.
Well, X, I'll let you respond. Then I want to comment on that, X, but you may have something as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. Coach Saban used to call out the team in the media, but he did it tactfully. There's a way he went about it and things of that nature. It wasn't just, hey, yeah, this guy was horrible and that guy was horrible, and you know, I did everything I could do, and that's what you get from Hugh Freeze. And I also don't know if y'all saw Bo Wallace, former quarterback at Ole Miss, who was the quarterback that beat Alabama in 2014. And he said it. He said, when it's a win, it's me from Coach Freeze. When it's a loss, it's the players and everybody else. And that was just hearing a former player, you know, the guy that kind of got you turned around at Ole Miss and winning, say that about you. It's not a good look.
Well, here's
I go a step further than that, X. One step further is not only is it not a good look, but when you take all that in consideration, look at the context when he's talking. He not only threw everybody else under the bus, he even said, I did a self-assessment of all the plays that were called. I think all the plays were good except maybe one of them. I mean, he was like building himself up even when the team was doing bad. So that's what I don't get. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Martin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, your comment was relevant. Here's my question, DC, because you start this off with people saying this because players are getting paid. This is the funny part to me. Let me be sensitive to all the people who have never played football, and all of you who have played football that feel that it's okay to do what Freeze did because players are getting paid. We watch the NFL. How many NFL coaches have you seen do what Hugh Freeze did? NFL have been they've been paying their players I guess forever. How often do you see an NFL coach do what Hugh Freeze did? Okay. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened, DC, but my question is, when that coach does that, the way Hugh Freeze did, how many times does that coach get to come back the next year?
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is you don't see that because you lose your locker room and you lose your players.
And you just took the next words out of my mouth. first of all, you don't use it. If a coach does what he did, you usually don't see that coach back the next year in the NFL. And number two, the rest of his season is junk because he loses his locker room. But watch this. Watch this. For all of you people out there that's saying, well, they're getting paid, they should get called out. Let's put a camera on you at your job. Okay? And watch you work all day. Yeah. Okay. Now, just let that sink in for a second. For all of you, and I know these are the Auburn folks. This ain't Alabama folks. I'm talking to the Auburn folks right now. And all of schools. I know Alabama folks don't do this. I know Alabama folks would never say that the board should act like this. But for all the other fan bases out there, DC, how many of them, we're going to put a camera on your job. Next time somebody says that, I'm going to put a camera on your job. Then I'm going to let your boss go on national television and say, you should see him do his job. He claiming he needs more training, but he just stink at his job. If he could just twist that boat right, or if he could just pick that up, or if he could just show up on time, if he could just not take an hour and a half lunch, if he could, I'm just saying, I'm all in your Kool-Aid right now because you sit here and say just because these kids get paid that the coach, no great leader does this. No, it's not about whether you get paid or not. It's not, he's the leader. And everything rises and falls on leadership. And right now he is I'm reading a book called, Jesus High Road Leader based off of John Maxwell's book, High Road Leader. And it says, is Hugh Freeze a high road leader or a low road leader when he does this? It's low road and everything lowers when he goes low like this. Actually, you need to get to a call. I'm sorry. I had to get that out, DC.
Hey,
I'm bringing a camera to everybody's job today. Y'all gonna be on TV, and then I'm gonna come out, and then I'm gonna do a play-by-play analysis of your job.
Hey, we've got Pat joining us on the Empowerment and Strategy Solution Hotline. How you doing today, Pat?
Hey, good morning, guys. Want to touch on
morning, Pat.
What Coach? Good morning. Hey, how you doing, DC?
Well, I'm doing great, Pat. Always great to talk to you.
Yeah, man. Look, hey, I want to expand on something Coach Saban said on national TV on ESPN. If you don't pay the right players, and I'm not going to say what he said because this is a family channel, but he can say that on ESPN. I think they private or something. But anyway, and they crazy down in Disney World. But look, what I wanted to talk about was Eli Holstein. Thank God that he did not go to Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, yes, for sure.
He would be
flourishing
out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. He's really doing some great things in Pittsburgh. Really doing some great things.
Yeah, and we knew that he was when he was being recruited. I followed his high school recruiting. He was actually in the state of Louisiana. He was better than Arch Manning. He did some really good things. He just came here and he was behind a bunch of very good athletes. I mean, can you say that fella that went to Tennessee that when he was here, he was running back, Calvin Kamara, he's against poor old Dallas. Dallas didn't stand a chance against him. I mean, he was making 5 yards before he ever got touched by anybody. And it shocked me how well he ran the ball for New Orleans. Did it not, y'all?
Nope. He was that good here, Pat. He was just the youngest of the.
Got in a little trouble and
he went JUCO and then there. But hey, thanks, Pat. And you bring up a great point, Eli Holstein. But listen, Hugh Freeze got his guy. He said that Peyton Thorne was the man, and he was gonna ride with him. until he didn't. And then Brown was the man, and he's going to ride with him till he didn't. And now he's in a pickle. Speaking of pickle, Tim Coggins said, I'm retired, Mark. You're going to have to break down my pickleball and golf games. So be kind. Hey, and I want to make sure that anybody who was listening to me with my little fun rant there is I do think you have to call players out and hold them accountable. But I think there's a way to do it. And I don't think that Hugh Freeze or Brian Kelly, either one, did it the right way. It doesn't mean that you don't have frustration. It doesn't mean that you don't have conversation. It just means that you do it the right way. And you can call out players in the media. In other words, he could have simply said, we are making way too many mistakes, way too many turnovers to be a good football team. I am going to go back to the drawing board with my quarterbacks, and we are going to get this fixed. We are going to get this fixed. We're going to start valuing the ball, and we are going to start hitting wide open receivers. We are going to go back and rep this till we can't get it wrong. And as far as our running backs, they've done a great job, but we cannot lose a fumble at the goal line, which could turn a game around. We have got to fix that. We have to secure the ball, especially when you're at the end of a big-time play that could be a game-changing play. Auburn fans, national media, you can count on us to get it corrected. I'll hold myself accountable, and I'll hold my team accountable. And we will be better. That's how you do it. That's calling them out. That's the same effect, except for you put yourself in the boat with your players in struggling in the struggle bus versus putting yourself on, hey, listen, man, 99% of the plays I call were right. Them jokers just sorry. I mean, that's literally what he said.
That's right.
I mean, he literally said, I'm the greatest. I mean, I may have made a mistake on one play. I mean, maybe. But them jokers, they just garbage. Oh, well, you recruited them. You coached them. All right. Anyway, let's get to break here. We'll be back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Tuesday morning to you. What we're looking at right now is a slow up on Lurleen Wallace. Got that on the northbound lane to 20th Street. It looks like we're dealing with a fender bender or perhaps a stalled vehicle, but it is causing delays back to 17th Street. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of the
of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. Polls open at 7 for the 11 mil property tax increase vote in the city of Tuscaloosa. It's been 40 years since the last property tax hike, and city school officials point out the cost of providing a quality education has risen regularly during that time. Opposition has come from a Stop the Big Tax group, basically backed by realtors, apartment complex owners, and developers. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Hey, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Scan that QR code and get your legacy gear. Hey, listen, there was a promo that just happened about the tax, and I have not spoken up on that really that much. And I want to give this following word as you go to the polls. There hasn't been a property tax passed, but our property tax has gone up in Tuscaloosa numerous times. There's two ways for your property tax to go up. That is a tax vote by the people, and then there's the tax assessor. Alabama and in Tuscaloosa, our taxes have gone up as much as anybody, if not more. And so as you go out to the polls today, I want you to be informed. Taxes on your property has gone up. And even though there hasn't been a vote that passed the tax. Number two is the city of Tuscaloosa is the number 22 school system in the state that has the cost of revenue per student. Number 22 out of 138 districts. And also, I think they rank number 80 in performance. So make sure that if you vote for this, that you're going to hold the people accountable to use this money to go to the students and the elevation of our education system in Tuscaloosa, the city of Tuscaloosa. We're not where we need to be. I think we have 2 failing schools, and I don't think it's all money. All right, X, I'll toss it to you.
So, of course, we're going to talk about the Georgia game. But before we get to that, as we wrap up the transfer portal NIL conversation, Virgil Williams said he was in a conversation the other day on Facebook where somebody brought up the fact that Coach Prime says that players are getting dogged for getting paid and this and that. And someone said that these kids are getting a free ride and more. And he said it's obvious that that person has never played college sports because nothing is free. These young men are working their butts off for everything that they do. And their schedules and lives are harder than a regular student. You know, Dad, you can attest to that. So it is, even though he's not necessarily wanting the school to pay players, NIL is a good thing for the amount of work these young men and women put in regardless of sport.
Absolutely, X. It's funny when I hear people say free. I can promise you there hasn't been a day since 1993, January 2nd, 1993, not a single day in my life where I worked as hard as I did from 88 to 92. And I made a heck of a lot more money. So, so anybody that says it's free, I would like for them, to do the amount of work, and do the overtime and all of that without any compensation. So, like I said, I have no problem with it being hard. I have no problem with it being called out. I have no problem with accountability. But to continue to say these kids are getting something free. Have you ever heard, DC, have you ever heard anybody say that about the engineering student?
No.
Isn't it interesting that it costs money for the university to give an engineering student a scholarship? It costs money for every scholarship, with the exception of football and probably basketball, and especially now, and maybe one or two other athletes on a couple other teams pay. Every other scholarship costs the university money.
Yeah. I agree. I don't want you to take what I said earlier about calling people out. I think calling your accountants is great. I think it's, but some of our listeners might. I'm not saying you don't hold them accountable. You do, but you do it in a way that builds up your team, not tears them down. And I know this is Alabama, but I'll give you this example. Next time you have an opportunity to listen to any one of the assistant coaches under Coach DeBoer, they all talk in the same way about players. And then you can say, I heard it after the game where Wilkin Formby had all the penalties. I heard his position coach, when the media called his name out, he said, Wilkins not the only one that needs to work on in the room. We need to work on the room as a whole. He didn't say he didn't make a mistake. He said everybody needs to work on some mistakes they made, some of the ones you may not have seen. When one of the media called out Ryan Williams' name, how great is he doing? How is he taking on this as a 17-year-old? You heard his offensive coordinator say Ryan Williams is a great player, but we got a lot of great players in that room. We got a lot of great players that are taking on, and they're all doing the same thing just like he is. And so that's how you build up a team. That's how you still hold everybody accountable. There's a way to do it, and that's all I was saying.
Got it. X.
100% agree with that. DC, as we kick over to the Georgia game, Alabama, of course, biggest game of the season so far for both teams, potentially the biggest game of the season, period. Georgia's coming into town. What are you looking to hopefully see from Alabama this weekend as they take on the Bulldogs?
Well, our podcast went up yesterday, and I went into detail about both of these things. But two things. One is I'm looking to see our offense against their defense in the way that I believe that Coach DeBoer is going to be able to use his offensive scheme in a way that will take advantage of Kirby Smart's great defense. And that's all you're going to hear going into this is Kirby Smart's great defense. But I think that Alabama, after the game, you'll be talking about the offense of Alabama. And the second thing I'm looking for is our defense versus their offense. X, do you know that right now in the top 10 teams that are in the AP poll, top 10 teams, there's only one team in the top 10 that's not in the top 25 in total offense. There's only one team in the top 10 that's not in the top 50 in the nation in total offense. And there's only one team in the top 25 that's not in the top 60 in total offense. And that team is the Georgia Bulldogs. And you won't hear that talked about this week. But I think our defense against their offense gives us an advantage that's going to bode well for Alabama to win this ball game.
100% agree with I didn't know it was that bad. I knew their offense wasn't top tier and even wasn't necessarily at the level it was last year. I didn't realize it was that lowly ranked. But I heard something interesting yesterday. So yesterday we talked about Tate Rutledge, the All-American offensive lineman for them that's going to be out this week. Yesterday they announced that their defensive end, their star defensive end, outside linebacker, edge guy, Mikael Williams, is doubtful for this game on Saturday. So now they're missing their best offensive line, and they might be missing their best defensive player going into this game. So that gives us a point at the points of attack, a potential weakness for Alabama to take advantage of offensively and defensively. How do you think on the offensive side for Alabama that we attack Georgia with a potential top 5 pick being out?
Well, I think we're definitely going to attack them with motion and pre-snap movement and sets that we haven't run plays out of before. I think Kirby Smart is a great schemer, a great defensive mind, a great tape watcher, and he's able to put together to stop you on certain because of the sets that you run. And I think Kalen DeBoer is going to run sets that we run plays out of sets that we haven't seen yet. So it's going to really give us an advantage. Now that gives us an advantage scheme-wise, but you're talking about advantage on execution-wise. If our players can execute against players that may have less of experience on Georgia, we'll definitely take advantage of that in pass protection as far as being able to have longer in the pocket to make throws. I think give Jalen Milroe opportunities to make those throws, and we're going to see probably some wide receivers. My prediction is we're going to see some wide receivers, running backs, or tight ends running wide open in the Georgia secondary based on that.
Yeah, X, we'll get the break here. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we'll get the break here and then pick up that conversation on the other side. And I'll just say this. Kirby's great at all those things you said, but he also has a little Saban in him where he will refuse to change or be slow to adapt. And I think that we may actually see an offense that can do to a Saban/Kirby defense what we've seen done to us, DC, because we have some of that Tennessee, South Florida skill set and playbook on our sideline this year. And so if Kirby sticks to his, past, then I think that this coaching staff will find some ways to get some guys in mismatches and also get some guys running open because of the history. You can literally go to Coach Saban and say, hey, what was your greatest weakness in your defense? And then build around that. So we'll come back on the other side to keep the conversation rolling right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and DC Capstone Report.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Tuesday, 7:30, brought to you by Yellowwood. We'll have Kevin Skarbinski and we'll talk all things SEC with Kevin. In the second hour, the controversial Tim Brando will join us. We'll talk to Tim about his top 15. Actually, he has Alabama at number 7, but we'll find out what Tim Brando thinks about the University of Alabama. Plus, we'll take your phone calls throughout the show.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got a fender bender working on 2059 westbound lanes onto 359. This is going to knock out your right lane and keeping traffic pretty slow. And moving across the rest of the area, we're not doing so shabby at all. Early.
Which begins at 3:30 on your home for Alabama football. Presented in part by BMW of Tuscaloosa and by Pearl River Resort in Choctaw, Mississippi. Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show. The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier and DC Capstone Report. It's now time for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. I'll toss it to you, X.
All right, DC, we got some rapid fire questions for you. So we talked about how the offense would attack Georgia's defense, especially with this potential injury. How do you see the defense and Coach Womack attacking Georgia's weakness on this offensive line?
Well, I think we're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback when they're in passing situations. I think that our defensive line really matches up really good already against their offensive line. But with the injuries that Georgia has, there's going to be opportunities for us to attack. I think L.T. Overton, Jamarian Latham, Tim Keenan have big games here, and that is in stopping the run, forcing them to pass, and then putting pressure on the quarterback that causes them to make some mistakes or throw balls in the air for pick sixes or some turnovers. So I think we create some turnovers with our defense because of that offensive line, either through strip sacks or possible fumbles or interceptions.
All right. And real quick, can you let us know who your sponsors are?
Oh, sure, yes. Thank you for letting us be on each week, and we can do that because of our sponsors, RollTideBama.com, FreelancePictures.com, and my sponsor allows me to be on your show each and every week, Karen Cottingham, Realtor, right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with the Williams Group at Keller Williams. For all your real estate needs, you can contact Karen at 205-887-4008.
All right, so back to the questions real quick. Who's going to be the standout on the offense for Alabama this week?
I think it's Jalen Milroe. I think the downfall of Georgia in this game, if I know Kirby Smart the way I think I do, he's going to scheme to stop Jalen Milroe's legs. He's going to put a spy on him, and he's not going to account for the maturation that Jalen Milroe has made in the passing game with all of his progressions. And there's going to be a back, a slot receiver, or a tight end that's going to be running free because that linebacker is going to be having his eyes on the quarterback's legs. So I think that's going to be the downfall in the game. Jalen Milroe will be the best offensive player in this game.
DC, let me interject real quick. DC, do you think that Alabama is a more talented team this year than the one that beat Georgia last year in the SEC championship? And do you think that the Georgia team is more or less talented than the team that Alabama beat last year?
I think Alabama is more talented than they were last year. I think both in coaching, calling, and playing. And I think that Georgia is about the same as they were, or just maybe a little less talented than they were last year.
Because I would ask you, if you say close or less, then who do they have on the offensive side, who do they have that strikes fear compared to the Bowers and McConkey? Who is his go-to guy from what you've seen?
Yeah, I don't think he has a go-to guy. And based on what I could see, it's like a McConkey or Bowers. I think he spreads the ball around, but I don't know if that's by the design or by necessity.
X.
Yeah, so there's not necessarily that guy that stands out. They have a couple of guys, and I think their run game is what they're trying to rely on this year. And when you're looking at the run game, with the injury to Ratledge up front, that takes a hit. We saw what Kentucky was able to do against them, slowing down the run. Do you think Alabama looks at the Kentucky game and goes, okay, this is what we have to do to hinder this offense? Because I feel like if you stop the run with them this year, because they don't have a McConkey, they don't have a Bowers necessarily, that it slows the offense down and puts Beck in a tougher predicament, especially because if you move him off of his spot, he's not the athlete or the playmaker that a lot of quarterbacks at Alabama has struggled with in the past is.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I don't know you expect Georgia to come out and play like they did against Kentucky, because I think they won't do the same. So, but you do study that game on the way that Kentucky was able to handle their run. And I think Alabama's defense is built to handle the run. I think their defensive linemen are built in a way that they can do that, and especially with the way they play for their linebackers and their wolf position, they do a good job playing the run. So I agree with you. Carson Beck is not the most athletic quarterback that we've played that gives us fits, but he can, if you give him time, tear you apart. So I think the point is you stop the run and putting pressure on the quarterback, and that's the way you're going to win this ball game. And you're exactly right. You get him off his mark and you get him pressured, he doesn't throw the ball near as well as he does when he's given plenty of time.
I think that can be not at the level, but somewhat like what's his name was for LSU, Burrow. But I don't think he's at that level. But I think he can hurt you with his legs if you don't have disciplined rush lanes. Not gonna win a game on his legs, but he'll pick up some key first down. Here's a question I have for you, DC: is Ratledge or Proctor a bigger loss? Just let that marinate for a second. If you think about how different we look with Proctor,
yeah,
and Ratledge is their best offensive lineman. If he at that level, it could throw this Georgia team into fits.
It really could, and I was thinking, it's a huge component when you just lose one, and people don't understand this, Martin. One player off offensive line makes a difference because it affects the whole offensive line, and we saw that when Proctor was out, how much better it is with us. So I think that's a big impact for sure.
Yeah, this offensive line for Alabama, I think getting Proctor back against Wisconsin, another week of practice, heading with the bye week, and then heading into this Georgia game, I think you'll see that offensive line gel even more for this game. And now Georgia's having to do the reverse. This is the first time they'll be putting out a new offensive line as a unit heading into a game. But DC, what's your score for the game on Saturday?
Well, I got Alabama winning this game 38-24, with Alabama's defense holding Georgia less than 400 yards total offense, but they're averaging right now. I think they only get about 350 in this game. So I think Alabama wins it 38-24.
38-24, less than 400. All right. That's DC Capstone Report. DCCapstoneReport.com. That's Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. That's Chase Brumfield. We do it each and every day, Monday through Friday. We appreciate you being a part of the program. Thanks for being a part. And we'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. We appreciate you. And hey, listen, go to Empowerment Strategies and Solutions and check out all that we have to offer. And that includes empowerment of leaders, advancing financial literacy, and driving growth, with an emphasis in banking and real estate. And I've joined a team over at Realty One Group. We love opportunities to help you get into your dream home. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths.